Stuka Joe here. Good night, everybody. Today is Sunday, September 25th, 2022. We're starting at a new time slot to give our subscribers in Europe a chance to participate. Let's see, we have Ben Dover, Steve O. We got also John Fleenor, Eric C., Mad Nerd Workshop, Michael Mellon, Diego Chavez, and Justin Penwith. And yes, the first giveaway, the keyword is hashtag Night Fighter. And that's going to be the first game we're going to give away. Here it is, Night Fighter by Gregory Smith. I'm going to put it on this side, this way, okay? This is 2018 Compass Games. Let's give it a closer look here. This one, of course, in shrink. And you have also Larry Pearson, Mark McQuitty, Daniel Silverthorne. We have also Jeff Henderson. Welcome. So, doing this at 6, see if our European friends can join in. Now, unfortunately, I can't ship games to Europe. The medium-sized box, the flat rate, which is $16.10 in the States, like to London, it's like $84. It's something like crazy. And then the other alternative is shipping by weight. And this is gonna be, it's heavy, even though it's all paper. It's not a mounted map board in here. Okay, so we have our first giveaway today. We're gonna do that after the two showcases. So what's going on? We have also Groucho and Ronald Nicholson. And here, Chico Adler from Brazil. Good. Okay. So I think I'm going to start each of the broadcast with like what's going on, and I have a little, let's see if this thing works. This is new also. So let's give it a shot here. So what is going on? If you've seen my channel, I'm doing these live streams and I'm doing edited videos. It's been pretty slow. I'm currently learning the ropes of this program, DaVinci Resolve. It's a professional editing software. It has a learning curve, but it's very nice. If you can imagine it, it'll do it. So it's a lot of fun. It's given me a lot of energy and new ideas to see how to present games. And so we have also Jackie Littlewood, and he's in England. Nice to see you, Jackie. John Fleenor. Things in Puerto Rico are fine. We got power. Okay, we got power. And we have also Epaminondas Leuctra, and I think you're in Europe too, right? Yeah. So this is like, I was looking for like the sweet spot, you know? 6 p.m. the East Coast, you know, your day's winding. In the West Coast, it's still 3 p.m. You got a lot of things to do, but it's 11 at night in Western Europe. So trying to get the sweet spot here. So thanks. So with DaVinci Resolve, well, you're seeing maybe less edited videos because it's a learning curve, but it's going to be worth the effort. And convention-wise, this year I went to the BellotaCon in January, and the other only convention I will be going, let me turn this down a little bit. The other only convention I will be going this year is this one. This is the Siege of Vicksburg. It's the second year. It's in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Yes, the Vicksburg of the Civil War. And it's interesting because the hotel where the convention will be held is on the banks of the Mississippi. So I thought to myself, if I'm going to a convention like that, at least I should take a Vicksburg game. Now I have this game here. This is one of those games by Turning Point Simulations, 25 most important battles of history. And this is the campaign for Vicksburg, designed by Paul Rohrbaugh. Now, I know I have another magazine game, which is a Vicksburg game. And I know that there are Champion Hill games that are, I think, in the MMP's Brigade level series and maybe a Battle Line, I don't know. Do you know of any Vicksburg games? Let me know in the comments. I know that Tiny Battle Publishing is coming out with a Herman Luttman Champion Hill game, but I don't know if they'll publish it before I go to the convention over there. So that would be nice to know. So that's the convention I'm going in October. And then, of course, in January, I will be going to the BellotaCon. That's January 26th to the 29th in Badajoz, Spain. This is the 6th edition. And they have a really nice venue, big auditorium, very nice facilities for snacks and dining. So it's right there in the border with Portugal. You can go 20 minutes and you're in Portugal. It's a lot of nice historical and interesting historical places to visit. So that's going to be the BellotaCon, 26th to 29th of January in Spain. So now, we got here Justin Penwith. Welcome. And we have Deploribus Rex. Yes. And E4 Airman. No, you didn't forget. You're here. Okay. So it's hashtag Night Fighter for Night Fighter Ace. That's going to be our first giveaway. So today, now we have two showcases. So that's dangerous because I have two set of rules in my head. So if you see I place Paraguayans in Sevastopol, something's wrong. Okay, but I'll try to do my best. And one is a game that is spanking new, coming out from Spain. I got the box from Spain, but it's going to be sold in the United States. So let's go first to the first showcase. So let's go to the showcase intro. And I suppose, okay, here it is. Von Manstein's Triumph. I'm still rusty in this thing about changing cameras. So this is new game by NAC War Games, Spanish publisher. And we have also Fast Heinz. And welcome. So this is the third game from NAC that they publish that are originals from NAC. Because NAC belongs to a company, it's called Masqueoka, and they sell games in Spanish, translations. So this is the artwork. For me, it's phenomenal. This is the work of Ivan Cáceres. He's, I think you can say he's one of the best graphic artists in Spain in war games, if not the best. And he also designs games, and what's curious about this design is that the system on which this game is based was designed by Ivan Cáceres, the graphic artist, and that is the game that was designed, that was published by this company, Bélica Third Generation, Santa Cruz 1797. This is a card-driven area movement block game also. This is a smaller footprint game, and it is a favorite in the BellotaCon. They play tournaments of this, like with 7-8 tables playing this. And it's a different type of CDE, as you will see. It's different from what you are accustomed to. So, and we have also Il Duce Pancaldi. Welcome, Duce. And we have also Moritat 19 and Kilroy is here. Welcome, welcome. So we're gonna be taking a look at this game. I've read the rules. I'm gonna film edited video that's hopefully coming out next week. But we'll go through the basic mechanics of this game. I'll just describe them, and maybe we can do an example of play so you can see what this game is about. So let me just give you a wide shot of the game so you know the footprint of this game. Here we have our wide angle camera. And I have the game mounted on this. This is a magnetic board, but the reason is because I have a Lazy Susan beneath. So I wanted to give you the perspective. Since it's a block game, here is what you would see if you're playing here on the German side. Okay, so if we do this, we have the Soviet side. You have the Soviet units there facing. It's a block game. And of course, people have asked me, what is it soloable? Well, you can solo it, but really block games lose much of their charm when you play them solo, because the fog of war mechanism that are the blocks that only have the labels on one side, well, when you're playing solo, you can see them when you're playing both sides. So here we have the map, and the map is Sevastopol here and its surroundings. And there's a lot of very interesting features here in the map. Of course, you see the city of Sevastopol. Sevastopol is a port. And the Russians have all their units on the board at the beginning. They can receive these 2 reinforcements, and that's it. So they are surrounded. This is a siege. And the Germans are storming Sevastopol. This is recreates the 3rd attempt by the Germans and the Romanians, which was successful. Okay, the blocks that you see here represent German forces and Romanian forces of von Manstein's 11th Army. And the Soviets have various divisions. Those spaces that you see there that have that red lines there, those are trenches. And they have significant effects. In this game, you roll dice. It's uses for each unit you roll a die. There's some modifiers, and if you roll a 5 or a 6, it's a hit on the other side. But if the defenders are in a trench that has not been neutralized, you need 6s to cause hits. So right off the bat, there's how the trenches have an effect. And we have Aardwolf from Aardwolf's Lair. Nice to see you, Aardwolf. Thank you. And we have also Glenn Sweet. Welcome, welcome. So this is a block game that has, of course, the traditional features of block games, which is, you don't know what the other unit is until you engage it. But it is card driven. And the cards, show you the cards. You got decks of cards which are for each of the sides, I like it that way, when a side has a particular deck. And this is the deck for the Soviets. And you have different kind of cards. The A is assault. You can move 2 spaces in assault, but you can react here, and this would be a counterattack card in reaction. This is an orders card that allows you to move 4 spaces, the units that are in one area. You have another assault card. So you have various types of cards here. These are combat cards. So these are only used in combat. This adds 2 dice. These are the mortar. Then you have this card, also used in combat, adds the bunker to the Russian space. And the bunker has some effects on defense and also an anti-tank gun. So if you're the German, you're attacking a space, you may run into a bunker and an anti-tank gun, and that might come as a surprise. You have minefields, anti-tank guns. Then you have the Soviet Air Force. Here you can use it as a reaction when the Germans use their Stuka or bombing card, interdiction card. So we'll see with the example, you get an idea of how these cards work in this game. It's different from the traditional CDG. That's the Soviet deck. And here we see the German deck. And we have also Eric from Eric's table. Yes. And we have also Tim. Welcome. Okay, so we have here, this is the German deck. You have your operation card, you can move 4 spaces. You have your Goliath card, and this helps you to neutralize the minefields. And here you have this anti-tank card. I think it helps you against the bunkers also. There's a lot of interaction between the cards, a lot of action and reaction. Here's the this card, the Stuka card. It adds 3 dice. You can bomb positions before attacking, and you can use as a reaction card also. And of course, the German assault cards. You got your big guns there. You can do bombardment with them. So let's take a look at the sequence of play, because that tells you a lot about the game. This is a game that has a very simple sequence of play, but it is also different from everything that I've seen. This is a player rate that comes with the game. I really like these poker-sized player rates, because you can just put them on the map where nothing is happening, which is always in wargaming. There's always somewhere on the map that nothing is happening, and that saves you a trip to a larger player rate. So look at the way this works. At the beginning of the game, there is a preliminary bombardment. The German player has a hand of 8 cards. Let's say this is the hand of 8 cards, and he can discard any cards that he wants, keeping those that have bombardments. For example, he can keep these 2, discard these 6, and draw 6 more, and he can play this card, or the ones with the big guns, and with those he can bombard spaces on the map. And I like that mechanic. It reminds me of Turning Point Stalingrad, where you have that initial bombardment, which very elegantly gives the game replayability, because the bombardment is not going to be equally effective all the time. Sometimes it'll be more effective than other times. So that is, right off the bat, mechanic that is in this game that I think very elegantly simulates that, because this was a siege, and before the troops went in, they bombed the hell out of it. So then you have the Axis action phase. And in this game, the Soviets get 6 cards each turn, each time they fill their hand, and the Axis fill up to 8 cards. So here the Axis player plays cards from his hand. So let's say the Axis player can play this card to activate a group of units in a space to move or attack, and he can play this card, and he just plays cards, and then resolves the combats caused by the cards. And in the combats, you can modify the combats with the combat cards that are the ones that have the C, like this one. So let's say the Germans have a hand of 8 cards. They have 5 non-combat cards. You can use 4, and in the combat phase you burn 3 combat cards. And then the Soviet player can react and play reaction cards. And after the Soviets react and combat is resolved, then both players refill their hands up to their limits. The Axis 8 and the Soviet 6. So it's very different from, let's say, Paths of Glory, where in one round, I'm the Central Powers player, I play 1 card, the other player is the Allied player, plays 1 card, then the Central Power player plays 1 card, you go 1, 1, and 1, and then you refill your hand at the end of the turn. Here you're refilling your hand right after your turn and after combat is resolved. So the Soviets would then get their action phase, the Axis player can react, and then you resolve combat. And after, both players, again, they refill their hands up to their hand limits, and then you have the end of turn. Okay, so what do you do during an action phase? Because This is another way that I think the game elegantly captures another thing that you have to deal in games where you have, like, for example, area impulse. In this game, you can do one of two things during your turn. Let me see if I can find the... Oh. You can play action cards from the deck, right? You can say, in this turn I'm going to play action cards, so if I'm the German player, I can play action cards from the deck. But let's say that my cards are not good, or my troops are... I have a lot of exhausted troops. I can pass in that turn. And exhausted troops are going to be signified by those that are face down, and they practically have no effect. And how do troops get exhausted in this game? Well, if you are attacking and the defender rolls a 6, he causes a hit. Let's say that the Soviets, in an attack here, they rolled a 6. They caused a hit, so you know how these games are, right? If you have 2, a strength of 2, this absorbs 1, and then one unit is exhausted. So let's say this unit is also exhausted. So the Germans, the more that they attack, the natural tendency is that they're going to have more of their units exhausted. So eventually they'll have to pass in order to bring those exhausted units back to normal. And that's, of course, that's where the Soviets can catch a breather. So that's another interesting aspect of this game. Not every time that you play in your action phase, you can do actions. Sometimes you'll have to, rest. Now, let's take a look at the components here. One question that I always get is that this game is made in Spain. Well, is it all in Spanish? Well, NAC War Games makes their games in Spanish and English. This board is printed on both sides. This is the English printed side. Let's turn it around here. You can see this. See there, this is the combat display. Here's where we resolve combat. This is in English. Everything is in English. The backside is in Spanish. When you look at, obviously, the blocks are not printed in any, they don't have any language. They're just numbers and symbols. And the cards are also language neutral. But the play rates, there's the play rates that I showed you, which are those that come in these cards. There's play rates that come in poker-sized cards. So you see they have here Spanish on one side. They're really cool. I mean, these are the kind of play rates that really can ease the learning curve at the beginning. Eventually you commit this to memory. For example, there's counters and markers in this game. By the play of the cards, you bring in, as the Germans or the Soviets, these assets. And here are the effects that they cause, summarized in this card. Here you have the terrain effects. Okay, so there's an anti-tank ditch also that goes through the whole map board from side to side. Combat dice, these are the circumstances that affect the die. 1 die per block, you start. And the NKVD rolls 2. 1 die for the strongest side. The side with more strength points gets a 1 die bonus. Then you subtract the attacker's die if any of these terrain features are present. This is rough terrain. This is you're trekking across a river. This is if you're trekking across straits. And if you're the Germans, you have a Stug, you add 1 die. And if you're the Russians with a flamethrower, you add 1 die. And of course, you add dice depending on the combat cards that you play. So this is a really neat summary. And this is something that gives you the card manifest, but also tells you the distribution of cards. And look how different it is. First, the Germans have 31 cards, the Soviets 32, and the Germans have 10 counterattack cards. So the Germans can do some counterattacking during the Soviet turn. So you got to watch out the proximity to strong German units here. And you can see that the distribution is different. The Soviets have cards with different effects here from the Germans. The Germans have the Goliath 88 millimeter and field artillery. So these are the poker-sized player aids. And you have other player aids here. Here we see this is a double-sided, of course, player aid. This summarizes the information in the cards. So you got operation cards, you have assault cards, reaction cards. Some cards are double purpose. You can play them during your turn, for example, as an operation card to bomb, bombardment, or you can try to cancel, you can play it as a reaction to the Soviet player. And here you have more effects of combat cards. So this is a game that you resolve combat in this board. Let's see if we can do that example of play. Let's see how far we can go in the example of play. So the first thing is, of course, during your turn, you activate units, right? And let's say that the Germans have this hand of cards. This is the German hand. Let's say they're going to play first this card to bombard a particular position. So let's say here, I'm going to show here. I'm gonna flip these blocks so it's easier to see the surrounding areas. We'll show the Soviets here so you can see. Okay. So. In this game, you have stacking limits of up to 3 blocks per area. Now, you can activate units from one area, but also you want to do coordinated attacks with units of more than one formation. These units belong to the same division, these blue units, and the pink units belong to another division. So as the German player, you want to concentrate those forces and attack with as much force as you can. But first, the Germans play this card to attempt to bombard this position here, this zone. And let's say that they roll the die, and the die roll is this. So no 5s, no 6s. I mean, you would need 6s because they're in trenches. So that fire is ineffective, right? So that card is played and goes to the discard pile, okay? Now, but it's still the Germans' turn. See, in another CDG, it would be the Soviets that would go, but we're still in the German turn. So now the German player plays this card, which is an operation card. Allows it to move units in one area up to 4 areas. Okay? So let's say that the Germans will move, for example, this unit here to this area. That unit moves there. And then let's say that they move this unit here to this area. Okay? This unit here, I'm sorry. This one will move here. They're maximizing their stacking. That's what they're doing. So that's that card. So we remove that card. That's discarded. They've played 2 cards. Okay? And I'm following the example. And now the Germans, they want to do a coordinated attack. So for a coordinated attack, you have to play 2 cards. If it's a coordinated attack of units of 2 formations. So let's say first they play this card here. This card is to activate the blue division here. And the way that you signify that you are activating the division, and not just all the units in one space, is that each division brings a counter for the division. And that division is this one, 50th Division. So we place that counter here on the card, okay? So that unit that division is activated. So I can move all units from that division or attack. Of course, we're gonna attack. And then we're gonna play another card to activate the units, the pink colored units. So we play another assault card. And to signify that we're activating the division and not just the units in one space, we get the marker here, and this is the marker. 24th Division, so we place the marker on that card. Now we're ready to resolve the attack. And in this particular case, we would resolve the attack. We would have two attacks actually. Two attacks from two spaces against this space here, from here to here and here to here. So it would be 6 units against 4. And because we're using this card brings us tank, asset. As the Germans, we add, I believe in the example, I think it's the Stug. So we would add the Stug there as an asset. And also, it adds also this card to cut the wires. See if I can find it. Not card, this marker. It would also be placed. Then we would resolve combat. And combat would be resolved here. So we use this display. Of course, we place the defending units here, right? And then the attacking units, we have attacking units from 2 spaces. Let me get the example to see how they place them. So we placed ones from 1 space in 1 area. So let's say we place these here. And we place the other units in the other attacking space, or triple space there. We have them set there. And here we would resolve the combat. And we got to mark the zone where the combat takes place. That's important. So of course, combat is taking place in the area with the Molotov. This doesn't come with the game. So mark the area, forget where the combat takes place. So you resolve the combat here. And the next thing is that, let's see. Okay, now the defenders are always placed in the central position. Now the attacker places face down the combat support command cards of his choice. Let's say that the Germans only have this card, right? And of course, the Soviets don't know.